Nearly half of them were over 75 years old. They did not die from the storm was survivable. They died from the weight of what they could not carry, and from the weight of what they refused to leave behind. Hurricane Katrina killed at least 1,833 people. According to a White House report, 71% of those who died in Louisiana were over the age of 60, not trapped by water, not overtaken by speed. Most of them were immobilized by load, physical, logistical, psychological, before the flood ever reached their doors. This is not a story about weather. This is a story about protocol failure. After reviewing federal disaster response data, FEMA preparedness reports, NIH mortality research, and institutional case studies from multiple major disaster events, one pattern surfaces with brutal consistency: seniors are not dying because they lack supplies. They are dying because the systems built to carry those supplies were never designed for bodies over 60. Standard emergency kits run 18 to 22 pounds. The average 72-year-old woman cannot sustain that load across a mile of uneven terrain, and in most evacuation scenarios, a mile of uneven terrain is not the worst-case scenario. It is the minimum. Today, we are rebuilding the protocol from the ground up. The criteria are fixed: under 10 pounds total, mobility-first architecture, and full integration with the chronic disease profiles that define the majority of the senior population. Every item on this list has been cross-referenced against weight specifications, medical utility, and real-world field performance. Nothing on this list is decorative. Everything serves a function. Some items serve too. This is not survivalism. This is logistics. And in an emergency, logistics is the only variable that matters. The framework: 3 variables, 1 constraint before we touch a single item. The framework has to be understood, because most people approach emergency preparedness like a shopping list. They think in categories: water, food, first aid, light, communication. They check boxes, they fill a bag, they tell themselves they are ready. They are not ready. The senior evacuation protocol does not begin with categories. It begins with a constraint: 10 pounds. Everything else is downstream of that number. You do not add items and then weigh the bag. You establish the weight ceiling first and then build within it. The moment you invert that sequence, the bag grows, your mobility shrinks, and your survival probability drops. It is that mechanical. Within the 10-pound ceiling, 3 variables govern every decision. Variable 1 is ergonomics, not just weight, but weight distribution. A 9-pound bag loaded incorrectly will destabilize your gait, shift your center of gravity, and increase fall risk, which is already the leading cause of injury-related death in adults over 65. The heaviest items must sit vertically in the center of the pack, directly against the spine. This is not a packing preference. This is physics. Any deviation from that center of gravity principle will pull you in the wrong direction under physical stress, and physical stress in an evacuation is not avoidable. Variable 2 is medical integrity. According to data from the Loan Institute and multiple peer-reviewed analyses, more than 40% of Americans over 65 are currently taking 5 or more prescription medications daily. Nearly 20% are taking 10 or more. That is not a statistic about illness. That is a statistic about dependency, a dependency that does not pause because a wildfire has crossed the county line. Any evacuation kit that does not begin with the medical profile of the person carrying it is not an evacuation kit. It is a bag of random objects. Variable 3 is efficiency. In a standard weight emergency kit, redundancy is possible. Under 10 pounds, it is not. Every item must justify its inclusion by serving at minimum 2 functions. An item that does one thing and one thing only is competing for space with an item that does 3 things. Under the weight ceiling, the multifunctional item wins every time. There are no exceptions. These 3 variables are not ranked. They operate simultaneously, and the rest of this protocol is the result of applying them. Item 1, the pack itself, 1.5 to 2, lbs. The vessel matters more than most people understand, and most people are already starting from the wrong vessel. Standard backpacks designed for emergency use are built for load tolerance, not load distribution. They are built for people who are backpacking across terrain with strong hip flexors and stable knee joints. The straps are narrow. The suspension systems concentrate weight at the top of the pack. They pull the carrier backward under load and force compensatory forward lean, which, in a person managing arthritis, hip replacement, or spinal stenosis, is a direct pathway to a fall. The senior evacuation pack needs to meet 4 structural requirements. First, a padded wide hip belt that redistributes at least 60% of the total load from the shoulders to the hips. The hips are a stronger load-bearing structure for sustained movement. The shoulders fatigue faster and carry the added risk of destabilizing the upper body. Second, a sternum strap to keep the shoulder straps from splaying outward and pulling the arms back. Third, a padded back panel with a vertical channel. This is what keeps the spine ventilated and prevents the pack from pressing flat against the lumbar region, which causes both overheating and postural compensation. Fourth, external mesh pockets accessible without removing the pack. In an evacuation, you will need to access water and medication without stopping, sitting down, and digging. The pack itself should weigh between 1.5 and 2 pounds empty. This is achievable with modern ripstop nylon or Dyneema composite materials. Ultralight packs in this weight range are commercially available in the $80 to $160 range from brands including Gossamer Gear, Hyperlight Mountain Gear, and REI's Co-op Traverse line. What you are looking for is a pack with torso length adjustability, because carrying height changes with age. And a pack fitted incorrectly for your torso length will cause more muscular fatigue per mile than almost any other single variable. One thing to understand about the pack: it is not the emergency kit. It is the delivery system for the emergency kit, and a defective delivery system invalidates everything inside it. Item 2, the medical core 1 to 1.5 lbs. This section is placed second because it is, without qualification, the most critical component of the entire kit. Not water, not food. Medication: the average senior experiencing a cardiovascular event during an evacuation does not die from dehydration. They die from a blood pressure crisis triggered by exertion, heat, dehydration, and the absence of their antihypertensive medication. 3 of those 4 factors are present in every high-intensity evacuation scenario. Hypertension affects approximately 66% of adults over 65. In an evacuation environment, blood pressure spikes predictably. The exertion is high, the sodium intake is often elevated from emergency rations, fluid intake is reduced, and cortisol, the stress hormone, drives direct vasoconstrictive pressure on arterial walls. The absence of medication in that context is not an inconvenience, it is a medical emergency. The medical core of the kit is built in 3 layers. Layer 1 is prescriptions. A minimum 7-day supply of every current prescription medication, stored in a waterproof pill organizer, not the original pharmacy bottles, which add weight without benefit. The pill organizer should be labeled with drug names, dosages, and administration times written on waterproof tape or in permanent marker. If you take insulin or other temperature-sensitive medications, a medical-grade phase-change cooling sleeve is non-negotiable. These sleeves weigh roughly 2 ounces and maintain temperature stability for 48 to 72 hours without ice. They represent one of the highest value-to-weight ratios in any senior kit. Layer 2 is the condition-specific add-ons. Blood glucose monitoring equipment for diabetics. This means the meter, lancets, test strips, and a minimum of 2 glucose gel packets. For those managing heart conditions, a printed copy of your most recent ECG if available, your cardiologist's emergency contact, and your medication list in a waterproof document sleeve. For those managing respiratory conditions, a rescue inhaler is first priority. A spacer device, while bulky, dramatically improves delivery efficiency under physical stress and may be worth the ounce. For anyone managing anticoagulation therapy, warfarin, apixaban, rivaroxaban, the medical card is essential. In an emergency medical setting, first responders need to know your anticoagulation status before performing any intervention. Layer 3 is the universal baseline. Every senior kit should carry a blood pressure cuff manual aneroid, not battery dependent, weighing approximately 4 ounces. A 3-day supply of electrolyte replacement tablets or powder, sodium, potassium, magnesium, a blister treatment kit, mole skin, medical tape, scissors, and 4 to 6 days of a basic analgesic acetaminophen preferred over NSAIDs under exertion conditions, as NSAIDs carry additional cardiovascular load risk in seniors during high-stress movement. Total weight for this component, 1 to 1.5 pounds, depending on the complexity of your medical profile. This is not negotiable weight, it is foundational. Item 3, Water Strategy 0.5 to 0.75 lbs. Here is where most senior evacuation kits collapse. The standard FEMA recommendation is 1 gallon of water per person per day. That is 8.34 pounds per day. For a 3-day kit, that is 25 pounds of water before you add a single other item. The recommendation was built around shelter-in-place scenarios, not mobile evacuation. For mobile senior evacuation, it is not just impractical, it is incompatible with any weight ceiling that supports actual movement. The protocol replaces stored water volume with filtration capacity. The Sawyer Mini Water Filter weighs 2 ounces, not pounds, 2 ounces. It is rated to 100,000 gallons of filtration and removes 99% of bacteria and 99% of protozoa, exceeding EPA standards at both benchmarks. It attaches to any standard water bottle thread, connects inline to hydration bladders, or functions as a straw directly from a water source. Pair it with 2 collapsible water pouches, the kind that roll flat when empty and weigh approximately 1.5 ounces each. Your water infrastructure is now under 6 ounces and rated for indefinite use. The trade-off that must be understood: the Sawyer Mini does not remove viruses. In domestic U.S. disaster scenarios, wildfires, hurricanes, floods, viral contamination of freshwater sources is rare. The bacterial and protozoan removal capacity addresses the primary risk profile of contaminated flood or surface water in North American evacuation scenarios. In international travel contexts or industrial contamination events, a Sawyer purifier, which does address viruses, adds approximately 0.5 ounces and is the correct substitution. One operational detail that does not appear on the packaging: never allow the filter to freeze. Ice formation inside the microtube membrane structure permanently fractures the filtration pathways and renders the unit unsafe without any visible external indication. In cold weather evacuation scenarios, the filter must be kept against the body during rest periods inside a jacket or sleeping bag. This is not optional. 2 additional items belong in the hydration category. The first is a lightweight, insulated 20-ounce water bottle, stainless steel, not plastic, for situations where you need to boil water or simply need pre-filtered hydration on demand. The second is a collapsible silicone cup for medication administration. Both add under 4 ounces, combined, and address operational gaps that filter-only systems create. Item 4. Caloric infrastructure 1.5 to 2 lbs. 3 days of calories at the senior metabolic rate, approximately 1,600 to 1,800 calories per day. For a moderately active person over 65 weighs exactly as much as you allow it to weigh. Canned goods, heavy, calorie inefficient, and require tools you will not be carrying. MRE pouches designed for military use. Adequate caloric density, but high in sodium, a critical liability for anyone managing hypertension. Freeze-dried meals from brands like Mountain House or Backpacker's Pantry. Optimal caloric density, low sodium options available, but require hot water, a resource that may not be consistently available during mobile evacuation. For the senior kit under 10 pounds, the caloric solution is layered. Primary layer calorie bars, the SOS. Rations 3,600 calorie package covers 3 days of baseline caloric need in a 1.6 pound block. These bars are formulated to be non-thirst provoking, which is a specific design feature relevant to water conservation protocols. They require no preparation, no heat, no tools. They are not gourmet food, they are fuel. Nutrition labels should be reviewed against your specific dietary restrictions. These bars are not low sodium and for hypertensive individuals. Pairing them with increased water intake and electrolyte supplementation is essential. Secondary layer condition-specific nutrition. Diabetics require caloric sources with predictable glycemic load, not the variable sugar spikes of most emergency ration bars. A small supply of nuts, nut butter packets, or specifically formulated diabetic-appropriate nutrition bars, PROBAR, kind with protein, or similar adds approximately 8 to 12 ounces, but provides the glucose regulation buffer that standard rations cannot. For individuals with low-sodium dietary requirements, single-serve freeze-dried pouches from Mountain House's low-sodium line exist, weigh approximately 3.5 ounces each, and can be eaten cold slowly, with additional water if heat is unavailable. Tertiary layer electrolytes. This is so lightweight and so critical that it belongs in both the medical section and the caloric section simultaneously. Under physical evacuation stress, sweat losses of sodium and potassium accelerate beyond what plain water can restore. Muscle cramping, a major fall risk in seniors, is frequently the result of electrolyte depletion rather than simple fatigue. Liquid IV, Noon tablets, or LMNT packets weigh fractions of an ounce each and can be the difference between functional legs and a roadside collapse. Carry a minimum of 6 servings. One note that applies to both water and food management. Under physical stress, the body's hunger and thirst signals become unreliable. You will often not feel thirsty until you are already mildly dehydrated. The protocol for hydration in an active evacuation is not need-based, it is schedule-based. Drink approximately 8 ounces every 45 minutes, regardless of thirst. Eat a small caloric unit every 2 to 3 hours, regardless of appetite. Deviating from that schedule to conserve resources is a decision that costs more in physical capability than it saves in supply volume. Item 5, Mobility Support 0.5 to 0.75, LBS. This is the item most overlooked in standard emergency kit templates. The reason is simple. Those templates were not written for seniors. If you currently use a cane, a trekking pole, or a walker, that device is not an optional add-on to your evacuation plan. It is infrastructure. Carbon fiber trekking pole, which doubles as a mobility aid and a navigation tool on uneven terrain, weighs approximately 4 to 6 ounces and collapses to 16 inches. It will cost you more ounces to not carry it than to carry it, because a fall during evacuation does not just injure you, it ends the evacuation. It removes your ability to self-rescue and transfers your survival probability entirely into the hands of whatever emergency infrastructure exists in that zone, which may or may not be functional. For individuals who already use a cane, the decision is different, but the logic is the same. Know the weight and collapse configuration of your device and factor it into your pack design. A folding cane weighs approximately 8 to 12 ounces. It should be secured to the outside of the pack in an accessible pocket, not buried inside the main compartment. Blister prevention is also in this category, because blisters during sustained evacuation walking are not a cosmetic issue, they are a mobility-terminating injury. Properly fitted walking shoes with moisture-wicking socks already owned and already broken in are the primary prevention tool. The secondary prevention tool is moleskin pre-applied to known high-friction zones before any sustained walk begins. Carry additional moleskin, medical tape, and small scissors in the accessible external pocket alongside your water filter. Item 6, Communication and Navigation, 0.5 to 0.75. LBS communication infrastructure in an evacuation has one primary requirement. It must not depend on cellular networks. Cellular infrastructure is historically one of the first systems to fail or become overloaded in a major disaster event. The 2024 hurricane season, which triggered more than 600 senior care facility evacuations across the southeastern United States, produced documented multi-hour cellular blackouts across affected zones. The recommended communication loadout, a hand-crank NOAA weather radio weighing approximately 6 ounces. These devices receive emergency broadcasts on all 7 NOAA weather frequencies, require no batteries when hand-cranked. And many also include USB charging for basic phone use, extending the useful range of your cellular device during intermittent coverage windows. Kaito and Midland both produce models that meet this profile in the 5 to 7 ounce range. Navigation, a printed local map, not a digital map. A printed map in a waterproof sleeve, annotated in advance with your primary and secondary evacuation routes, the locations of emergency shelters that accommodate medical needs, and the addresses and phone numbers of your 2 primary evacuation contacts. This map weighs nothing meaningful, but it represents intelligence infrastructure that no dead phone battery can delete. One additional document that belongs in the external document sleeve, a completed medical information card. Name, date of birth, blood type if known, complete medication list with dosages, known allergies, primary physician contact, emergency contacts, and insurance information. This card is what a first responder reaches for when you cannot speak for yourself. Printed in large font, laminate it or seal it in a waterproof sleeve. It weighs under an ounce and contains more survival critical information than any other single item in the kit. Item 7, Light and Shelter 0.5 to 1 lb light is the variable that most emergency kits overinvest in. You do not need a lantern, you do not need a floodlight. You need hands-free illumination that allows you to navigate at night, read a label, or signal for help. A headlamp weighing 2 to 3 ounces, the Black Diamond Spot, or the Petzl Tikka Pro, are standard references, delivers 300 plus lumens, with a runtime of 10 to 70 hours depending on mode. It runs on AAA batteries, which are universal. Carry 2 sets of spares. The headlamp goes on your head. Your hands remain free for your trekking pole, your water filter, your pack adjustment straps. For shelter, the sole emergency bivy. This is the single highest value to weight ratio shelter item that exists for emergency scenarios. It weighs 3.8 ounces. It is a reflective thermal bag that reflects 90% of body heat back to the user. In hypothermia conditions, which are a real risk for seniors, whose thermoregulatory efficiency declines with age, it is not luxury gear. It is a survival barrier. It compresses to the size of a deck of cards. It costs under $20. Every senior kit should carry one. A lightweight rain poncho, constructed from ripstop material rather than standard plastic. Adds approximately 3 ounces and provides precipitation protection for both the person and the top of the pack. In extended outdoor exposure, wet clothing drops core temperature faster than almost any other environmental factor. The poncho is not comfort gear, it is thermal management. The protocol lands between 6.25 and 9 pounds depending on the complexity of the medical profile, the specific product selected, and individual condition-specific add-ons. It clears the 10-pound ceiling with room for the one variable that no general protocol can predetermine: yours, the medication profile that makes your kit unique. The mobility device that changes your external load configuration. The dietary restriction that eliminates a standard calorie source and requires a substitution. This is the protocol floor, not the protocol ceiling. How the bag is built matters as much as what goes inside it. Begin with the medical core, placed in the accessible external pocket. This is the item you need fastest. It should never require opening the main compartment. Layer 1 in the main compartment, the emergency bivy, and the poncho. These are the lightest and most compressible items. They go at the bottom. Layer 2, caloric supply centered vertically. This is your heaviest single component. It goes mid-pack against the spine. Layer 3, the water bottle and filter pouches, placed to balance the caloric supply on either side. Symmetrical loading reduces lateral pull during movement. Layer 4, the headlamp, communication radio, document sleeve, and remaining items. These go at the top of the pack, accessible within 30 seconds without removing the bag. The trekking pole or mobility aid is secured to the outside of the pack or carried in hand. It is never buried. The map and medical card are in the external document sleeve, accessible with one hand without breaking stride. Here is what the data does not resolve and what no protocol can fully address. The seniors who died in Hurricane Katrina were not uniformly underprepared. Some of them had supplies, some of them had plans. What they did not have was a kit they could actually carry, and so the plan existed on paper, and the execution failed at the door. The question this protocol raises is not whether you have the right gear. The question is whether you have rehearsed it. Whether you have loaded the pack, put it on, and walked with it for 30 minutes to understand where the pressure points are, which pockets you actually reach for first. And whether the weight you are carrying is weight your body can sustain across a real distance under real stress. The statistics suggest that more than 76% of seniors over 65 have never formally discussed an evacuation plan with a family member or healthcare provider. They have not walked the route. They have not verified their shelter destination. They have not confirmed that the shelter they plan to reach accepts individuals with the specific medical equipment they depend on. The gear matters. The gear is the beginning, but the gear is not the variable that saves your life in the margin between preparedness and survival. That variable is execution. And execution lives in the repeated, rehearsed, physically internalized practice of leaving before you have to. The next time there is no emergency, practice the emergency. The window between warning and mandatory evacuation is rarely more than 72 hours. Often it is 24. Sometimes it is less. Your bag should be packed today.